Good morning. Monday, August 28th. We're gonna get started with making some ricotta cheese. The last ricotta I had, I used for my lasagnas last week. And I don't have any in the freezer, and this is not something I buy. And so I had some extra milk, and I thought it'd be a good idea to make some and get it in the freezer for later use. This is a recipe that I have from the cheese making book that I go through with all of my cheese making videos. But it really is so simple. It's about a gallon of milk, whole milk preferably, with citric acid, salt. Now the citric acid and the salt are dissolved in some non-chlorinated water first. And then you mix everything together in the pot. You heat it up to anywhere between 190 to 200 degrees, occasionally stirring, but you don't want to touch the bottom of the pot because then you're going to be pulling up some of that milk that does cook a little bit on the bottom. And then you let it sit, scoop your curds out. You should see a very clear delineation between your curds and whey, and the whey should not be milky. It should almost be very like, it'll be yellow, but it should be very clear yellow. And that's how you know it's ready. And so then you strain your curds out into some cheesecloth or a strainer, cheesecloth line strainer. Let it sit, salt your curds, and you've got your ricotta. So while the milk is heating up for a ricotta on the stove, we're gonna go ahead and get started on something new. It's the end of summer. I think today is officially the last day of summer, maybe? I'm not sure, but I thought I saw that somewhere. And fall and winter are coming, which means cold and flu season are coming. And this is a perfect time to make some elderberry syrup. This is a recipe that I have been using and I kind of adapted for our family. Happy to share it, and I will write it down below. But this is something we've been using for many, many years. We're going to be using some homegrown, home harvested elderberries. We're also going to add, I always say this wrong. I say astragalus. It's astragalus root. This is not homegrown or home crafted, but I'm hoping that changes over the next year or so as I've started my own seeds. This is from Mountain Rose Herbs, and I have a link down below where you can get some of the most helpful and responsibly harvested spices and herbs. Mountain Rose Herbs is a fantastic company, and that's where I bought this. So we're going to add this. This is really good for immune health, which is what we're doing with our elderberries. Elderberries are high in antioxidants and vitamin C and overall immune boosting. We're going to also add cloves, cinnamon. You could add a cinnamon stick if you'd rather. And I have a little orange peel here. I'm going to add that too. I'm going to get everything in a saucepan. Once it's boiling, I then let it simmer from anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. Let it cool, strain it through a sieve, put it in a jar, and add some raw honey, and you have the most delicious and most potent elderberry syrup. We usually take, oh, Marley needs to go out. We usually take about a shot glass worth every day, each day, and that kind of helps give a little immune boost. Starting with 2/3 cup elderberries, tablespoon of my astragalus root, about a half tablespoon of clove, tablespoon of orange peel. You could put a whole cinnamon stick in, or about maybe 2 teaspoons ground cinnamon. And then I have 3.5 cups filtered water. Last but not least, fresh ginger root. If all you have is dried ginger, then that's okay. Use that. I would probably use about a half of a tablespoon of dried ginger. Otherwise, if you have fresh ginger, I like to kind of peel the skin off and expose as much of that raw ginger as possible. I usually use about 1 to 2 inches worth, and then just slice it pretty thin throw that in as well. We're gonna get this boiling on the stove and then let it simmer for anywhere from 20 to 30 minutes. So I'm gonna let my ricotta cheese just drain in that mold for about 30 to 45 minutes. I'll come back, I'll probably salt it a bit, and then we'll put it in a container to put in the refrigerator. Eventually it'll go in the freezer. Now the leftover whey, there's probably a good 3/4 of a gallon of whey left over in this pot. I am not dumping that. I'm gonna let that cool, and I will either use it with one of two ways. Number one, I can dilute it with a 1-to-1 ratio water and water the garden, or I can bottle it up, put it in the fridge, eventually in the freezer, and I can use it when I make bread in place of water with my sourdough. So while the elderberry is just still a little warm, that's when I like to add my honey, because I'm able to really kind of mix and incorporate that in so much easier. I just put about 2 heaping tablespoons in, maybe about total 3 tablespoons. You can add as much or as little as you want. Raw honey is going to be your best bet because that is where you find all of the really true medicinal properties of honey, is when it's raw. Elderberry will last in the refrigerator for up to a few weeks, but for optimum immune boosting health, try to take some every day. Thanks for joining me today. We've got some ricotta made and we've got some elderberry syrup in the fridge. I will see you tomorrow with the next project. Stay healthy, stay well. Bye-bye.